This is Live from the Table, the official podcast of the world-famous Comedy Cellar, coming at you on Sirius XM 99 Raw Dog and on wherever you get your podcast. This is Dan Naturman, and Noam Dwarman, the owner of the world-famous comic strip, is not here. I believe he's in Italy, or coming back from Italy, or doing something.
La dolce vita.
Well, in any case, Noam's absence, of course, means we'll probably be discussing things less political and more comedical. Periel Aschenbrand, I don't know why I said Zoe. Periel Aschenbrand is here.
She is.
Yeah, and she is our producer, and we also have Jaye McBride, who is a regular comedian here at the Comedy Cellar. Welcome, Jay.
Thank you.
And she has to be out. Well, you'll have plenty of time.
Don't worry about it.
You have to host a show tonight.
Right.
Here at the Comedy Cellar.
Yes, I have to go take my sub back to Brooklyn.
Before we talk to Jay in more depth, just to briefly about my schedule my special that we've been discussing here.
Yes.
As far as the name of it, we discussed last time that I had taped it, and we discussed all that. But I'd come up with, Obsagerations was a name that I had thought of, and then I said, well, why not make it a little longer? I say, how about Obsagerations and Anecjokes? And so I submitted that to the. I didn't realize. I thought I got to choose it. That I was going to make the final decision, but I got a call today saying they didn't like it, the producers. So I said, well, what about A Little Bit Bananas? And I'm waiting to hear about that. So the chances are it will be called A Little Bit Bananas. Look, I didn't argue with them. They paid me to do the special. I'm not going to fucking argue.
I would be tickled pink, flattered. It would be really...
Okay. Well, that's just an added bonus.
We've been talking about this for weeks.
We usually devote. What the hell's wrong with me today? Devote 5 to 10.
Observagical station.
We usually
today.
devote 5 to 10 minutes to it.
I also, I also think that if those of you who tuned in also know that Jade Jordan was on the last show, and I didn't dislike his suggestion either, which was sweet ass jokes. I thought that was cute.
Yeah,
I thought that was cute for you.
Yeah, that's
too.
actually pretty good.
But A Little Bit Bananas. I thought.
But look, I'm not convinced that the title of a special is of that great importance. Though I could be wrong about that.
Couldn't disagree more.
Well, I don't know. I mean,
I don't know. I was it 800 pound?
No. This is just some company in Jersey that did a bunch of specials.
Oh, cool.
So I don't know. When people talk about specials, do they even bring up the name? Sometimes they do. I didn't hear anybody talking about John Mulaney's special using the name of the special.
Right.
You said, did you see John Mulaney's special?
Right. That's
I'm
true.
not here to say that the name of the special has no importance, but I'm not convinced it has great importance. Maybe it could.
I don't know that it has great importance in so much as it influences anything other than I think it's important to have a great name for something. I think a great body of work deserves a great name.
I guess.
So this doesn't deserve.
But I couldn't come up with a great name.
Well, so I came up with a great name.
Okay. You came up with a name. I think it's a good name.
It's a great name.
What's your name?
A little bit bananas. But
That's your name?
that's the name of this special, maybe, assuming it gets approved.
Yeah, I'm
but
not sure.
It's an allusion to my banana joke.
That sounds like a 1970s Steve Martin album.
I'm not mad about that.
Okay, all right, that's what it
seems. You say it seems a little dated.
It seems like, I don't know. It just seems like, oh yeah, wasn't that an album by Steve Martin back in the King Tut days?
Well, maybe.
It was a what? That was
No,
actually
I don't
something?
think it was, but that's what it sounds like to me. When I hear
you know what?
I'm not saying that's
if
bad.
they don't like it, I'm gonna say sweet ass jokes.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if they want sort of a pseudo swear in the title. Anyway, Jay.
Mine was Daddy's Girl. It just came out in March.
Now see, that's the name, Daddy.
That's a great name.
Thank you.
And where can we see Daddy's Girl?
Well, it's only on YouTube. It's very exclusive.
Don't say only.
Oh, yes, it's very exclusive. Like you need an accountant on YouTube. You need, So it's worth every penny they paid me to do it.
Well, how do you feel about hosting here? Because you're hosting the 7 o'clock show.
7:30. Yes, I kind of like it. I've been doing it a little over about a year. About a year here. And I kind of like it. I think it's making me a better comic. I think if I had, all things being equal, I would probably rather do spots. But I think it's fun. I think it sort of changes.
Just briefly, although most of the listeners probably know this, the host is the person that brings up each act.
Yes.
And they do a couple minutes. They usually do 10 minutes up front and then like however much time they would do
Right.
in between.
It seems
acts.
like longer when I do it.
But I never liked it, and I did it for a time here, and I didn't like it because oftentimes first of all, you lose momentum each time you go up, and the audience oftentimes will say, well, this is the time to go to the bathroom, or this is break time, and sometimes they won't pay attention.
Well, when you're first up there, I mean, you have 10 solid minutes. And
yeah,
feel
the beginning part is you can be productive and get work done.
But honestly, I don't even do time in between comics usually. Like between before the last two, they usually do last call, so I do a couple minutes then. But for the most part, I just bring them right up.
Also, I didn't like that you had to be in charge of, lighting the comedians when it was time for them to get off.
Right. If you want to be a good host, you have to be a little bananas.
A little bit banana.
Oh, right.
Jay thinks, and maybe she's right that little bit banana seems a little 1970s-y.
Well, you're a little bit 1970s.
Well, I've been accused of being a little 1940s.
It's a compliment. I mean, to me, I think that that's part of the charm. I like that. Like, I think that there's irony. I think that it's a little bit ironic. Because the joke also that it alludes to is fucking completely pornographic. And also, you are, by all accounts, a little bit bananas. I'm not giving up on this title. I think it's amazing.
Well, it may well be. It's probably going to be.
Nicole?
Anyway.
I'm still fighting for Hard on an Empty Stomach, but I know that's been, at this point, written off of the list.
Actually,
so.
it's a good title.
It's a good one.
Yeah,
Hard
yes.
on an empty stomach.
That's actually a good one. We also totally pornographic.
Right.
Yeah. The problem I had with that, Nicole, is that it's a little bit too maybe dirty for.
More than sweet ass. I feel like Hard on an Empty Stomach, when you have no idea what the joke is a little bit more like ambiguous than sweet ass.
She's not wrong.
I think you should name it to Railing That
Yeah,
Puss
maybe
24/7.
Maybe hard on an empty
Right.
stomach isn't so bad. I don't know.
What about 2 feet
now
of
I'm
man
torn,
meat?
Now I'm torn, which is another word that can be interpreted pornographically.
No, 2 feet of man meat?
2 feet what?
Of man meat?
Well, that's
2
that's
feet of-
that's a little too obvious.
That's gross.
What about dick into the veg? Plus jokes.
plus jokes?
Let's talk about perhaps Mr. Jonah Hill.
Yes.
Who got into?
Yes.
He's a little bit bananas.
Well, apparently his girlfriend posted screenshots of his texts wherein he said, "I don't want you posing on Instagram in like bikinis or hanging out with, people that are
Men.
sketchy and hanging out with guys and
Okay,
posting bikini pictures and so on."
But give some background.
Uh,
He was dating a surf instructor, and they met by him approaching her on Instagram. Like he DM'd her on Instagram. My understanding is this is I don't know this firsthand. I'm not friends with Jonah Hill or Sarah Brady. That he was like, I think this is really hot. Like I think you're hot, and I
Okay.
like your surf pictures. And then they began dating. And she posted, and have since broken up, and she posted these text messages between the two of them, which I will go on record and say I do not like that. I do not think that posting private text messages is a nice thing to do. I'm not judging her for doing it, but I think
why wouldn't you judge her for doing it if you don't think it's a nice thing to do? I mean,
because
I think
because I think that it's more complicated than that. I think that I do think that it's more complicated than that. I think that she said, from what I read, that she felt like every time somebody asked her about her relationship, she kind of had to say like nice things, and she was sick of pretending that like he wasn't this.
well, how about you this? We're done.
Exactly, that's what
How
I'm saying.
about that? How about doing that? I mean, my take is that whether or not you found Jonah Hill to be reasonable or unreasonable, he said, these are my conditions for our relationship.
No, that's not what he said. What he said, and
He
this
said is if you don't,
these are my boundaries.
yeah, okay. Well, what's the difference?
The difference is that like actually trying to, those aren't boundaries. Those are like you're really
Whatever
I mean,
they
it's
are,
very
you have
controlling.
you could just say, "Look, I'm not down with this."
Well, but that's a fucked up thing to say to a woman. Like you don't. It's
How about this? I'm not down with these conditions that you've laid out. You know, so we don't work together, and you know.
yeah.
It's a little weird. He's a little he's a
He may
control
be
freak.
weird.
It's like the two of them. It's like two.
He may well be
16-year-olds.
weird.
They're like two 16-year-olds.
Yeah.
Like I don't want you talking to other boys. You know. It's
Okay,
like,
but he may
grow
well
up,
be
grow up.
weird, but he has every right to express his concerns, and she has every right to say you're fucking crazy.
Wait, but slow down. She's saying that he was emotionally abusive. So don't roll your eyes.
Well, that
For those of you just
No,
listening,
I'm going by what was posted.
Look,
Right.
You can say, look, going into this relationship, here are some of the things I would like, and if this doesn't work, we should.
Yeah.
But not like after you're dating, like, hey, I can't. Why do you do this? You know,
That's
just,
right.
it's
Well,
like,
but
it's very
what-
controlling, manipulative.
So then get out of the relation. I mean, I understand it's
She
more
did.
complicated. Okay, but why post the shit?
well, I think for the reason that I said, which is that she was sick of like working under this guise that like he wasn't abusive, emotionally abusive. You can't say like, oh, this is really hot. This is one of the reasons why I like you. And then after we get
Okay,
into
fine.
a serious
But
relationship,
So he's an asshole, maybe. But okay, fine. So then break up with him. But why advertise to the world?
you've
you
never
know,
been in
why
an
he's-
abusive relationship, have you?
Been in a what?
You've never been in an abusive
I've
relationship.
never really been in any relationship. So maybe I'm a little too logical. You know, but I understand that in a relationship, feelings are hurt. That it's not so easy to just get out. Okay,
my golden
but
rule.
again, like, okay, but
You'd probably be a solid boyfriend.
you know, I don't know about that.
I have a
but-
golden rule about things like this, and it's usually that they're both assholes. That's my thing. Like
Right.
he's probably a control freak, and who, by the way, he's at best a 4, and she's like a 9. So I mean,
Well,
the
you're
fact
being.
that
I think you're
he's-
being generous with it,
with
but-
4, with 4.
Yeah, but I don't.
I
you
mean,
know, we're not here to talk about his physical appearance, but but yes, I would give. 4 might be
come
a
on.
little bit generous.
Yeah. He's like if he were a plumber, he would not be dating someone like her.
I mean, I'm shocked. He's able to date at that level, even given his movie star
Right,
status.
right. And I think he's just he's a creepy guy,
I-
and
I'm-
she's like a little bit vapid, I'm sure, a little bit, and she just wants the attention, 100%. They're both assholes. That's my rule.
Okay, but
They're
people
both
are assholes.
Yes.
You know, but every time someone's an asshole to me, I don't go on the internet and say this person's an asshole. Here's why, and here's evidence.
Well, maybe you're not an asshole.
No, but
I mean,
peop-
I think
other
you
people
are.
around me might be assholes, but that doesn't mean
Right.
I go online and say so and so mistreated me, and here's how.
Exactly.
And
And you're
post-
not an asshole. If you were an asshole,
Oh, so
you
you're
would
saying
post
she-
it. I'm saying
okay.
she's an asshole too. I'm
Okay.
saying they're both assholes.
Right.
Well, okay.
First of all, again, it's foolish perhaps to think that these messages, anything that you ever write is private, right?
Yeah, but you would hope that somebody you're dating would at least have the decency.
Well,
Agreed.
Unless I mean, I can imagine a case if it's something like horrifically like I'm going to murder you, you know.
Yeah.
And there's a crime involved.
Right.
All right. What if
You know, then that's another story.
What if she just posted saying like, by the way, I broke up with Jonah. I found him to be very controlling, and I wasn't comfortable, and we broke up.
Yeah, okay, I would be okay with that myself.
Yeah. All right.
Now,
Yeah.
now Periel is saying, but other people would say, well, he's not controlling, and you're making that. Well,
Right. I think that that's true, that people are
but
like,
you know what? I just
If I had-
posting private shit. I mean, maybe in an extreme case, or if there's a crime involved, you know.
If I had a daughter,
You know.
and she said her boyfriend was telling her that she couldn't like talk to other guys or post bikini,
It's insane.
I'd be like, I would want to kill him.
Yeah, I
I'd
mean,
be
that's
like, "Who the fuck are
psychotic.
you,
Why would you want to kill him? Just tell
you.
your daughter, look, leave this dude.
No, I'd say I'm gonna drive you across country and dump you in the Grand Canyon. That's like
no. That's an insane
it's weird. It's
thing
weird. I would
to
not
say
be
to
happy if I had a
somebody.
daughter who was dating someone like that.
Oh,
for sure.
And to say, you should have known to take down all of these pictures because I don't
Yeah, I'm not
have
saying.
a beach
I'm not
body.
saying that it's not nutty, but again, just to post these things for everybody to see is where I have an issue. Nicole Lyons, what say you?
Well, I think the use of him also saying boundaries is kind of suspect. Like I feel like it's kind of like therapy speak
Agreed.
to try and like make excuses for that some of this stuff is like crazy that he's asking for. Like I don't know.
But again, but what about her posting it?
I don't think that's a good idea either. I do get the sense that like maybe you need to validate like hey, this is what happened to me.
Well, maybe you
but-
can validate that with your friends privately. Say, look at what fucking Jonah sent me. But to do it publicly,
Part of me wants to say that if he really was that big of an asshole, and it really pains me to say this, that like, good for fucking her. Like, he deserved it. Like, if you're gonna act like that, then that's what
Well,
you get. And
look,
it's very
I'm
upsetting
not-
to me because I want to say I just started watching a documentary that he made, and I was really gung ho about this and thought that it was going to do wonders for all of our mental health. I had a lot
and it may well.
What's
I
this
had-
documentary?
I had a lot
But isn't that the whole
invested.
point, that Jonah is aware of his issues and that he's trying to work through them?
No, Dan. The
What's this
point.
documentary?
The point is that like he totally missed the fucking ball. It's called Stutz.
It's about him and his therapist?
Yeah, he has this psychiatrist who apparently is this like quite well known and kind of renowned and amazing psychiatrist who has this very particular way of psychiatristing.
Okay.
And he interviewed him and made a documentary about it.
Oh,
and
all right.
I started watching it, and like I said, I had a lot invested in also in my own mental
Well,
health.
my own Jonah Hill experience, I only had one. Years ago, I did Conan O'Brien. Conan O'Brien had The Tonight Show, and I think it was 2008 or something like that, for about 6
Right, like
months.
9 months,
They
yeah.
gave him The Tonight Show for about however long.
And
it
Jay
was.
Leno unretired. Yeah, which is, by the way, another asshole move.
Okay, but anyway, I did the show, and the other guest on the show was Mr. Jonah Hill.
Okay.
And I did my set. I thought it was a pretty good set. I did, what jokes did I do? I don't remember. But anyway,
They were a little bit bananas, whatever the jokes
that was
were.
long before the banana joke was written.
Okay.
I did a joke about being 39 and I'm at halftime in life, and that's halftime. It's like the second half you're going to lose, so it's I had a joke about that. I made an analogy with life and a football game, and in the second half, life is putting in its best players, like Alzheimer. Get in there, suit up. Anyway, so
I like it.
Yeah. So anyway, here's what I took from that experience. I sat down next to Jonah Hill after my set. He had just done the movie with Aziz. What's the name of that movie? The stand-up movie.
I've never seen any movie.
He did a movie
Oh,
about
the Judd Apatow.
yeah, the
one?
Judd Apatow.
Oh,
movie.
that
yeah.
pineapple thing?
No, it was
No,
about
no, no.
stand-up.
It was about stand-up.
It was, I think,
like the comedians or the stand-ups or something.
yeah.
It was like
well, maybe Nicole can get us the name of that movie. But anyway, he was there just after that movie. He had just done a movie about stand-up. I had just done stand-up, had a good set, and he didn't say anything to me. And I have to say that stuck with me. He didn't say good job. He didn't say he said nothing at all. Now, is he obligated? No. Does he know me? No. Did I say anything to him? No. But I just felt that him as the senior, in terms of the show business hierarchy, person on the show, and me as although older than him, a upstart comparatively speaking, that he should have given me some nice words.
Yeah, that would have been nice, but he's clearly insecure and he's clearly an asshole.
So I took from that, I got it, I may be crazy, but I got from that I don't like this guy.
Well,
Now, it's a very small thing. Maybe I'm nutty for
Right.
reading into the fact that he's not obligated. Again, he's not obligated. I can't imagine me not saying something to somebody like, hey, that was great.
how hard is it to offer that to somebody?
Right. Great job. Wouldn't
Yeah.
that be great? First TV appearance. Great job.
Well, it wasn't my first TV appearance.
Well,
Sorry,
it doesn't
sorry,
matter.
all right.
Whatever it is.
It was a TV appearance.
All right. All right.
But anyway, that's what I took from that, and it's many years ago, and I still remember it, so I guess it had some significance. Nicole,
Maybe you have
By the
me-
way, the one
Funny
thing we can
people?
all oh sorry.
funny people. Thank you.
Funny.
people.
The one thing we can all agree in is Jonah Hill should not be posting bathing suit pics. That's
Well,
the
has he
one
done?
thing
Has he done so?
Everyone should agree. Like those are my boundaries. I don't ever want to see a picture of Jonah
I do
Hill
wonder
in a
who else
bathing
was on
suit.
that show. Thanks to
the
the-
shoulder hair alone would be a turnoff.
I don't know. I feel like I'm okay with it.
Really?
Yeah.
All right.
I
well,
think it's really disappointing.
you're a little bit bananas.
It really is. It's really disappointing. Like, I don't really know that much about Jonah Hill. I haven't really seen any of his movies, but in the glimpses through which he's passed through my
By the way, just briefly, thanks to the miracle of the internet, I was able to find the show. Jonah Hill, Cheryl Hines, Dan Natterman. Episode July 21st, 2009.
wow, can we watch that?
I doubt it. This is just IMDb what popped up when
Well,
I
why
when I
wouldn't
entered
that
it.
Wow,
be-
almost 14 years to the date.
You're right. Holy shit, that's it.
How about that?
Yeah.
Wow.
Um,
And she's good at math.
Look at that. I know.
That
I
could be
know.
your
I can
next bet,
subtract.
though. Good at math.
The world was a very different place in
That'll be my next one. My next one when I'm
The world was a different place in 2009. I think Facebook was around, but
We all had hope.
new.
We all had hope.
Well,
Jonah Hill
A
was
young
still
a
an
young Barack
asshole.
Obama was just taking his first steps into.
yes, into
Greatness.
the Oval Office. There was no. I don't think there was a Twitter.
I think there was Twitter, but I
Maybe.
don't think it was like
Was MySpace still a thing? Anyway, that's my
2009.
very, very.
I was only 16.
Oh, so you weren't even. So at a 16-year-old Jaye McBride.
Sure, let's go with that.
Was doing what?
No, actually, I just started stand up in
Okay, so you
2009.
weren't just-
October of 2009. I just started stand up.
Okay.
How about that?
Well, you're a relative newbie in stand.
I know.
2009. So you've been doing it now. This is a discussion I had recently with somebody. I said, I've been doing comedy 30 years, but they had been doing it for about 15. This person I was discussing this with, and I said, that used to be a long time in comedy, 15 years.
Yeah.
Because nobody had been doing comedy for that. Very few people, because there just weren't as many people that had been doing it. When I started, Seinfeld started in 1976. So when I started comedy
Seinfeld started
in 76, I
Oh
believe.
wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
So when I started comedy in 93, Seinfeld was about 17 years in.
That makes me feel better about my life.
I also wonder if I think there used to be people used to be able to use stand up as a platform
Yeah,
to go
so
into other
people
things.
used
and then
to-
they would stop doing stand up.
Yes, I think that happened a lot, so that you just didn't have people that had been doing it that long, as many people that had
Right.
been doing it that long.
Right.
And
So
a
like
lot-
Romano and like Kevin James. Like
Yeah,
they
Romano-
were great stand. And now he's obviously he comes in and he still does it some more. But for the most
Right.
part, he was done with.
he was
stand-up.
about 10 years, Romano was probably about 10 years in when he
Yeah.
got his sitcom. Maybe not
Yeah.
even that long.
Yeah, and I look at like Michael Keaton. I was watching the Comedy
was a-
Store
he was a
documentary.
stand-up?
His stand up was brilliant.
Was it?
He was so good, but then he just
But he did
he blew up and
he
now
did
just do stand-up.
what I long to do, which is get the hell out of stand up.
Yes, I'm starting. The more I'm in stand up, the more I want to get out of it. It's pretty sad.
Now, why is that?
I don't know. I feel like it's just so much now. It's so much with social media. It's so much, especially like just the shit I get online now for being trans alone. It's just like there are places now that won't book me.
By the way, I didn't bring up trans.
I
you
know,
brought
I
it
know,
up.
and I
wanna make
appreciate
sure
that. Like there are places for sure that I know they'll be like, no, we don't want a trans comedian in our, regardless of sight unseen, they'll just say that, and like.
Wait,
Are
I
you
imagine you would
serious?
anticipated that, though.
Yeah, well, yeah, but it's still that doesn't mean it's a
Doesn't
good.
mean it's good.
Yeah, it's just like I'm setting my boundaries.
I like
Healthy
that
boundaries.
Dan. He was like cross-examining.
Right.
No, she opened the door for
Right.
that.
She opened the door. As far as I'm concerned,
sure you
Jay
guys-
is
yes,
just
yes.
she's
Every
just
other
a comic.
podcast, like, so you're trans. Tell us about that. It's like, all right.
Well,
here we go.
we've discussed that on the podcast. We don't
I'm
need to
sure,
go
I'm
into
sure.
that
I know,
and down that road.
Right, and no one wants to hear it. Everyone's sick of it.
Wait
Everyone's
a
sick.
second.
But-
There are places that will not book you
Yeah, and it's just
in like Alabama.
Well, I mean, I'm not going to call out people, but no, there are clubs that won't book me. There are clubs that'll, which look, I don't want to sound like a pity party, but it's just like when I talk about getting out of stand up, it's just like the business aspect. It's just brutal, and I'm like, you know what? I still have fun. Every time I do a set, every time I hang out with comics, it's still like the highlight of my day. Like I was depressed all day today. I guarantee I'm going to leave feeling great about myself.
Oh, you should.
But no, it's just. But I mean, the business. Like I really would love to go into something else.
Something related to show business, or maybe
or-
plastics, or
Right, I would like to continue my math degree and build a submarine. That's my next step.
did you have a math degree?
Yes.
Well, that's very impressive.
Oh.
Math degree, and it's like that's why I can
Shut
subtract
up.
2023.
I
Where did you
can't.
get your math degree?
SUNY Albany. I know.
SUNY Albany is a fine school.
It's all right. It's not a
Look,
Wait
a
a
math
second.
degree at any school is impressive.
First of all, as somebody who is math challenged, I really picked up on that like very quickly. The
Well,
fact that I said that her
I think it's-
next special should be called Good at Math is really very
I think that would be a good
impressive.
title. Yeah, look, math, I've said it before, I'll say it again. We can all fucking read a book. We can all memorize dates.
I don't like where this is going.
We can all. What other subjects?
your
do we take?
goddamn taxes,
What other
that's all we're
subjects do we
saying.
take? We can all learn a second language if we put in the effort.
No.
We put in the effort. If we
I
put
feel
in
like
the effort.
everything I can do, you're like diminish it.
I'm not saying
So
we can
then
all
say
write a
that
good
was
book.
being
I'm not
good
saying
at
we can
math.
all write a
It's
good
like-
book. I didn't say we
Look,
can
we
all
can all
write.
get on Conan O'Brien.
I didn't say
okay?
we can all
do
write a
that.
book.
We can
I
all
said we
meet
can
Seth
all
Rogen.
read a book, which is what you do in school. You read a book and regurgitate. I'll tell you what we can all do is stare differential equation in the face and say, fuck you.
That's right.
That
That's
we
right.
cannot all do.
No. No.
That separates I don't want to say the men from the boys.
That separates the men from the
you
whatever
know,
you
that
are.
is the
From
expression-
whatever this thing is that we're talking to.
Don't blame me. That's the expression that the English language
Right.
has.
There's a
You
book
know?
called Innumeracy, which is basically like the math equivalent to illiteracy. You know, talking about how like so many people are just have no idea what's going on with like
Yeah.
even basic things with math.
That's fucking hard. That's
Yeah. There's this like the first anecdote in the book. He was talking about this weatherman was saying like, well, there's a 50% chance to rain on Saturday and a 50% chance to rain on Sunday. So it looks like there's a 100% chance for rain this weekend, which is not how math works. But
Yeah.
the fact that no one caught it and no one said anything to him, they're like,
That's amazing.
yeah. Everyone's just like, yeah, just people are just bad at math, and they
math.
don't. Which
And the reason they're bad at math is because math is hard as fuck.
yeah, as long as some people are good at it, we're fine.
You
It's
know.
when everyone's bad at it that's when we're in trouble.
What was the most advanced thing you took in math? I don't want to
I
make.
mean, I took level 400, 500 courses. I think
So
the
what's
hardest
that,
one was
like,
actually, well, one of this branch called topology.
Topology, okay.
Yeah, which is like this weird, like that's like the basis of when you like
That shapes.
relativity and stuff like that. Like it talks about. All right.
No,
Look,
no, no,
I
no,
you're
don't-
looking at me.
I'm really blown away by this.
Like if you like, all right. It's hard to explain, but basically like when
you
like,
wouldn't understand.
Yeah, like well, I'll talk with Dan. Okay, let's just you sit this one out. Okay,
We don't want to have a whole math podcast, but suffice
Right.
to say that it's a
Yeah.
very advanced
right,
area
right.
of
It talks about things
mathematics.
called manifolds and different shapes and how different like fields of like different how math can still work in various shapes and how like our universe might not be a flat plane, but it could be.
So it's
So,
got a little bit of
It's a
physics
lot.
in
It's
it.
a lot. Yeah,
guess.
it's.
And
I mean,
this
basically,
is-
this is just like the building point for a lot of that physics, like quantum physics, like some of those like
And
manifolds.
so-
and stuff.
so
Some
what-
people are
so-
riveted. This is interesting to you guys. Yes.
I mean,
What's interesting to me is that a comedian has a math degree.
Yes,
That's a
is-
very
yeah,
unusual thing.
yes.
Now I have a law degree. I'm a lawyer. You see,
which is more impressive, I think.
which is far less impressive
Oh, I don't know. I think it's more impressive.
because, as I said, anybody can fucking just memorize some laws and statutes, and I mean, there's some logic. You need logic to be a
Yeah.
lawyer. You have to apply the laws and the statutes to a particular case.
Well, that's what someone said to me. I should
but
go to law
but
school based on logic.
I just think math is like a whole nother thing in terms of requiring just raw intelligence. I don't think there's anything more difficult.
I
but
agree, 100%.
What
You are going to leave here feeling
what?
great.
Right.
Well,
exactly.
so with a math degree, you go to Wall Street and become like what's that? A
Well, what
quant?
the-
They call that.
Yeah, they're actuaries is the one of the
Oh,
things that
actuaries.
people
I
were
mean,
talking
it's not the
about.
most
That's-
exciting job in the world, but it pays
no,
well.
No, but yeah, a lot of hedge funds will use that. And a lot of insurance companies. It's real seedy kind of work, but everyone who does it apparently is happy. But or you can go in and go further and either get a master's and teach or get a PhD and.
So you don't have a master's, you just
teach.
have a bachelor's.
No, I just have a bachelor's. It's like,
But I feel like if you're good at math naturally,
Mm-hmm.
it's not hard, right? Like you can go and
So
do
do
this stuff.
do you perceive it as hard? Is the question, I think.
do I think no?
Because
no.
those of us who are not, I was okay at math until I wasn't, but it seemed very, very hard to me. But to you, it seemed.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty. I wouldn't say it was like you can make it sound like I'm Rain Man or something like that, but I mean, like it was okay. It was I enjoyed it. It was still there were things that I had to work at. But.
It's unbelievable.
Anyway,
It's
Wow, that was like the
unbelievable.
worst, least funny 15 minutes this podcast has ever done.
oh no,
Oh, no,
no,
it's
no,
not.
no,
All
no.
right.
Not at all. By the way, is Jocelyn still telling? Do we know if she's still telling the joke about the Malaysian Airways?
I think so. I think so.
Probably.
I think she says it and that leads into like what's happened since.
Speaking
then.
of jokes about
Crazy
tragedy,
not
have
Yes.
did you do any submarine jokes?
I think I posted a tweet or something like that, but I don't even remember what it was. But the stuff like that, or on Facebook. But I don't really tell any jokes about that. But I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. I think I can't even remember, but I tweeted a joke, and of course, some people are like, oh, you shouldn't make fun of dead people, and I'm like, all right, it's 5 rich guys, all right, it's not. Come on.
Well, it's not that they were. I think one of them was like a daughter, though, wasn't it, of one of the guys?
Yeah, I don't think it matters that they're rich or not. I think just
The only thing that mitigates it a bit for me, in terms of whether the appropriateness of making fun of such a thing, is that I think they were aware of the risks, as
Right.
far as from what I've read.
I didn't even-
They were
Right, but-
aware that this was a very risky thing to be doing.
That's like saying, like, oh, you got hit by a car crossing the street. You were aware that that was.
Well, I don't know about that.
No,
I
and
wouldn't make that
I wasn't even
analogy.
making fun of the fact that they died. I think I was just making some weird
No.
play on words about submarines, but I don't even remember what it was. That's how. I'm
I
sure.
just
I'm
think
sure it
it's an
killed. I'm sure it
insane
killed.
Thing. I'm sure
Where-
it killed.
wherever I-
I'm sorry, I didn't mean.
I'm sure it got millions of likes.
Oh, I thought the pun was that I'm sure it killed. Like I thought that was the joke.
Oh,
It seems like it's such a crazy thing to want to do with your time, let alone your money. Like, forget that.
Well-
but it's like my worst nightmare to get inside of a thing like that and do that.
Are you claustrophobic?
Yeah. Isn't like anybody reasonable? Like,
You know,
does
that's
that
one,
seem
that's one
appealing?
thing. That's one thing I don't have is claustrophobia in terms of, fears and anxieties.
Really? Would you have gotten into that submarine?
No, of course not,
Why not?
because the risk was too high.
yeah. They go past a certain depth that they call hull crush depth. I mean, at that point, you're like, all right, maybe there's a good chance the hull could crush once we hit hull crush
Hull
depth. Yeah.
crush
So
depth.
Yeah, like a lot of submarines.
Sounds
will
like a
have,
Hebrew
certain
word.
Depth. Yeah.
That's
It's good. Yeah, it's a type of bread you put. It's good with pastrami.
Dan is teaching himself Hebrew.
Well, I have
yeah?
been, but
I'm teaching myself French.
well,
Are
I've
you?
already done that.
Oh well, there you go.
Not that I've mastered it, but
Well, I did it because Dan said literally
But-
anyone
but-
can.
but
So
I-
no,
I-
Duolingo. That's Urban
well,
Level.
yeah, but Duolingo. That's not the technique I used. I used the Naturman technique.
Nice.
What is that, you ask?
Yes, please.
Well, first, what I do is I get all the grammar down.
Okay.
I get
How?
all the grammar down. I got a book about just all the grammar, all the tenses, the adjectives, the nouns, the gender of nouns and all that. I get all that down, and along the way, you're going to pick up some basic vocabulary. And then after that, I just start reading. When I started, there was not much going on online, so I got Paris Match at the newsstand, and would read an article, and then if I didn't know a word, I would write it down, and then I would look up the definition, and I would memorize the list.
It's completely insane.
a lot of memorization. That's great.
completely insane that you were able to teach yourself French.
Well,
like
no, I don't
that.
think it's insane at
No,
all.
I'm
I had a lot of.
telling you.
Well,
I
I'm
think it's a
telling you,
gift.
I
I think it's a gift. I don't know
Of
that.
you have a lot
course
of
it's
free
a
time.
gift.
Look, like every cab driver in New York speaks 2 languages. I mean, it's not crazy to speak a second language.
It's not
No, no, no.
crazy to speak a second language. It's crazy to be able to teach yourself
Yes,
a second
yes.
language
I don't know. I think
without
given-
being immersed
What's
in that.
crazy? Well, first of all, you
If
don't know
you
how.
moved to France and you learned French,
Well,
that would be less impressive.
First of all, you don't really know how good my French is. I just tell you, and I could be full of shit.
Let's hear it.
Well,
No, I've heard you speak. I studied French from 6th grade until 12th grade. I lived in France. I have seen you.
Ou le pamplemousse.
Oui, j'aime pamplemousse. Pamplemousse, c'est très bien. And you perform in French, which is all I need to know know that it's got
to be
a
fair, one could perform in a foreign language just memorizing, because I only did 10 to 15 minutes. I'm just playing devil's advocate, but against myself. But so that in and of itself is not necessarily an indication.
And the law degree. He's playing devil's advocate.
Yes. But in any case, are you really a Duolingoing French?
Yes. I'm at like 200-something days in a row. So
Okay.
it's my streak.
And this is just for
Wow.
fun, or do you have an intention?
I mean, I would.
To,
Yeah, if Trump wins, I'm going to Canada. That's
Well, most of Canada is English speaking.
it's on fire. No, I know, but usually,
It's also on fire.
yeah. I thought to emigrate there though, you needed to learn French. That's what.
No, I don't believe so. At Quebec, I
When I
suppose
first-
you do,
yeah.
but I don't think Toronto or anywhere else.
Is that
you can.
true? That's why
I mean,
you
that's
started
what I thought. I
learning
thought
French?
Part of it.
That's
I mean,
insane.
yes.
I don't believe that you need to know French if outside of Quebec.
I don't know that you need to, but I think it would probably.
She's
help
going
the
to
chances,
move
so.
to
Yeah, like-
Canada and become a math professor.
That's right. That's right. And
Well, and I have a joke about this.
I get mauled by a polar bear.
I mean, one of my
All right.
jokes is that we all these people are saying they're going to move to Canada
Right.
if Trump wins, and Trump won, and nobody moved to Canada.
Right.
I mean, it's not even a joke; it's just a statement, but it gets laughs because it's very true. And I put the word "fuck" in there, which amplifies it a bit.
I remember my submarine joke, by the way. It wasn't that great. It wasn't worth it. I said it's never the millionaires you want to die in a submarine,
Oh,
or
that's
something like that.
But
That's good.
well, they were billionaires, I think, some of them.
Yeah, you know.
But in any case, but it's true. Nobody moved to Canada after Trump.
No,
I mean,
no, but then
I'm sure
we've also-
somebody did. I can't say nobody.
Right.
But not literally
I
nobody.
think everyone's
but
like, you know what, it's not
very
gonna be that
few
bad.
because they
Everyone's
probably
like,
didn't think
yeah,
Trump would
yeah.
actually win.
Right. Yeah, but now, I mean, there are politicians literally saying that they want to eradicate trans people. I mean, like that's
Well,
literally,
who's
so-
saying that? Who's saying that?
It was at CPAC. Someone literally.
What did they
used
say?
the
They want to
phrase,
eradicate
trans people.
Okay, well, that's obviously
That
a
was at
far-reaching
CPAC.
statement. But
Yeah, and that's like a major.
I mean, did
and
he
Trump
mean
spoke
by
there.
that
DeSantis spoke there?
kill
Trump spoke
trans
there.
people or simply disallow them to transition?
Either way, I don't think that.
Yeah,
it's
either
not
way,
like-
that's not
Either
good.
way, it doesn't bode
Either way, that's
well.
not good.
That's so sick.
It's like, all right, I guess, and I don't know. It's just a lot.
It's awful.
Yeah, it just wears on you, all the hate online. It's
But
just
and yet,
crazy,
but yet, we've never been as a society. It's never been a better time to be trans. I mean, obviously, it's a lot better than 70s and 80s and 90s, and maybe, and I guess even the first decade of the 2Ks. I mean, there's been a real change.
there has
almost
been.
over
in New York.
night.
Yeah, in New York, it's a lot better.
Right,
but it's
okay.
worse than it was 5 years ago.
In New York.
Well, in the country, it's
Right.
worse. So again, we probably don't want to talk about this shit. But
No, why? We can talk about it.
Yeah, you guys talk amongst yourselves.
We do. We talk about it all the
Right.
time, actually.
Well, yes.
But anyway, that's why I started learning French. I thought, why not? Plus, it's. I think everyone should learn a second language.
Well, what I have.
Why are we? We're like the only country where people don't speak
Right,
two
well,
languages.
we're also the only country that went to the moon. So I don't know.
Supposedly, I don't know about that.
And we did invent GPS.
I know.
So I mean, we
Thanks
do
to
some.
math.
co-
I
Thanks
thought
to math.
Israel.
No.
I thought
no.
Israel.
No, GPS is an American invention.
You sure?
Don't look at me like that.
But
It's
math.
an American invention.
Oh, Waze was Israeli.
Yeah, Waze,
Okay.
which is
All right.
an application that uses GPS.
Okay, all right.
But GPS is an American invention. A lot of amazingly brilliant people, in addition to the not so amazingly brilliant people, live in America. And we've done some great things. We don't learn a second language because we don't need to.
Right.
It just does us no good when you speak English and people all over the world speak English as a second language. We're not,
Okay.
forced to. So it doesn't mean we're dumb.
There are
I'm not
plenty of-
saying that.
There are
Yeah.
plenty. I'm saying that. I
Yes.
think that a lot of Americans are. I mean, most
Well, certainly-
Americans don't have passports. Like 90-something% of Americans do not have a
Well,
passport.
they don't need those either, I guess.
Well,
We're a big country. We got everything you need. We got the Grand Canyon. We got skiing. We got tennis, fishing, hiking, great comedy.
yeah, there's a whole world out there.
I understand, but because we're so huge, I mean, if you live in Sweden, you make a wrong turn and there's a border that you're in Norway, then yeah, you're going to need a passport. So I mean, part of it is that Americans tend to be insular. And
Don't you want to see the world? Don't you want to like?
I've never been to Europe, actually.
Well,
No. Canada's the only other country I've been to.
I think that
But however,
I'm the reason why the fires.
however, I
I'm
did
sorry.
read
apologize.
I did read.
Just camping and smoking.
Oh, that was you.
That was me. Sorry.
I did read that learning a second language is very good for your brain. Whether or not it has any practical value, we can discuss. But it apparently establishes different neuronal connections in the brain and delays the onset of Alzheimer's disease
Oh.
by perhaps 5 years.
Really?
Now, that doesn't sound like that much to me.
yeah, I
but-
mean that sounds like a lot of work for very little.
well,
payoff.
it's a lot of work if you don't enjoy the work.
Well, my biggest
But
fear.
if you enjoy it, then it's an added bonus.
Here's my biggest fear: if I do Duolingo for like 5 years, say, and I still sound like, like a third grader.
Yeah.
Just
Well, because I don't think Duolingo, with due respect to the good people at Duolingo, who I guess are not going to sponsor the show after this, but I just don't think that's a way serious person who wants to really learn a language is going to learn a language. I think the Naturman technique is far superior
What's it called?
with the Naturman technique. And just
The
to review
Naturman
it,
technique,
first you
yeah.
get to buy a book or, or maybe there's some free resources online, get all the grammar down,
or move to Paris.
and
Well,
then
basically, I'm just gonna watch Law and Order and
then start reading. There's
and,
a
see what happens.
I think it's a little premature for that, but that's a goal.
yes.
But you can go online and go to Paris Match for free. Paris Match. What else?
you have to actually
Voici.
speak. That's
Yeah, but
part
first
of it.
you.
I did
well,
buy
but
a
first
French
things
book.
first. First things first. We get the reading comprehension down. Then we move on to listening and speaking. This is the Naturman technique. You may disagree,
I think it should be
People
all at
disagree with
once.
the string theory too, but this is my
Yes.
thing.
Okay.
String theories. Yeah.
Well, I don't understand it, but I know that people disagree with it, and other people agree with it. I bought a book about the universe, not Stephen Hawking, Brief History of Time, which I also bought,
Right.
but another book which is similar.
Kaku?
What's that? No, it's not
Michio-
him. It's
oh.
some other guy that purports to explain the universe and the workings of the universe in a way that anyone can understand. And no, there's no explaining this shit in a way that anyone can understand.
There's no
I
unifying
tried to
theory, yeah.
read A Brief History of Time years ago, and I couldn't make heads or tails out of it. And that's supposed to be for like the layman.
Yeah,
But Hawking.
I'm actually listening. I bought a book on tape about string theory, and it's fascinating. But it's also like part of it. It's like, wait a second, you're like, hold on, this is all just theoretical, But anyway,
Well, if you can at least understand the theory, then
What's the theory?
I know we're not going to get into string theory because first of all, I don't
Yeah,
understand it. I'm not
Well,
This
sure
is-
maybe
it-
Jay
it-
can explain.
no,
it.
I
no,
don't.
I can't. I mean,
Well,
I think
I
it would be
mean-
interesting. I would love to see a lecture.
Suffice
about
it to
but,
say that the Naturman method is for serious language learners only. Or you could go to the country. But even if you go to the country, you've got to make sure it's, I know people that have lived in France for 10 years and their French is not very good because they hang out with Americans. and
Right.
stuff.
Well, that's obviously not the way that you learn a language.
But unfortunately, if you hang out with French people or Spanish people or whatever language you're trying to learn and you don't already speak it at a good level, they don't want anything to do with you. Why do they want you
you get a
around
French lover.
bumbling,
What I do
bumbling
is
along?
I have a French person a French lover come into my apartment, then he puts clothespins all over me and doesn't take them off unless I start pronouncing
There
things
you
right.
go. That's
And then
good.
then it works. Then and, sometimes I'll feel saucy and I'll intentionally mispronounce words. But we get there.
But you need to have a level that's sufficient such that the person talking to you is going to tolerate you. Because otherwise, it's just like hanging out with a baby that can't talk that very well, like a 3-year-old.
Ugh, gross.
Look,
Now, we tolerate a 3-year-old because if
I
it's your
don't.
child, you tolerate it. But you're not going to tolerate a grown person that can't string together a sentence.
hanging out with young kids.
That's why the
who-
Naturman method is the recommended.
Listen, okay. I think I am going to maintain that moving to a country and doing everything that you're saying, but being immersed in it.
But you can easily live in a country and not be immersed. So you have to be careful. You can live in a country and hang out with people that speak
Yes,
perfect
you can.
English or
Yes,
very
you
good
can.
English.
Okay, next.
And again, if you're trying to hang out with people and speak to them in the language that you haven't really mastered well, then they're not. I mean, they're going to probably talk to you back in English if they can.
If they can.
So
What else?
So what else? So
I did something recently that made me think of you, Mr. Natterman,
all right.
which is that I flew in
You
a
were in the
tiny-
bathtub.
Yeah. I flew in a tiny plane.
Okay. Now, why
Like
did
a
that make you
private
think
jet?
of me?
What?
Like a
Why did that
private
make
jet?
you think of me?
Why would that make me think of you? Can you guess why flying in a
Because I have a pilot's license.
Yes, very
Okay.
good.
Really? Look at you.
Look at that,
The
connecting
Natterman
the
method.
dots. It was crazy.
My dad had a pilot's license.
Really?
I don't like the word "had" in there.
Well, I mean, he's dead.
No, but he didn't die of the of
He didn't. No. Well, remember 9/11? No. He was on one of the. No.
Oh my God, that would be awful. Could
If,
you
if
imagine?
my dad was a pilot on 9/11 and flew into the yeah.
well,
that
he
would
was
be-
he
that would
was
be
just a
bad.
private pilot with a small
Yes.
aircraft.
Yes.
You could just tell people that nobody's going to actually fact check it.
Actually, it's interesting. He towards the end when he had cancer, he really started going through his bucket list, and that was one of the things was a pilot's license. But because he had his voice box removed and he needed one of those electronic things,
Oh, yeah.
he almost didn't get his license because they have to be able to understand you.
But they
When
just figured
ground
we'll
control
give
needs
it
to
to you
understand
anyway.
Yeah. So I think they're like, oh wait, he's about to die. Yeah, whatever. Here you go. Like it came in the mail. I think after he was buried, but
Wow.
Yeah.
I wonder if that was intentional.
I doubt it. I don't know. Yeah, boy, that one. All right.
That went fucking dark.
Right.
Really?
Let's go back to Seth. Let's go back to Seth Rogen. Or no, Jonah Hill.
Jonah Hill. Although we could talk about Seth Rogen, I haven't heard from him in a while. But
So here's the thing. I was in a small plane because I was near a bunch of islands, and one of the islands that I was near was
Which shaped like a penis.
well, you're not wrong.
Okay.
Was Jeffrey Epstein's island.
Oh, my dad was there too. No, not really. I'm kidding.
I wanted to go on a tour of that island. I thought they could turn that into like some like fucked up version of like
A haunted house?
yeah.
No, that's weird. That's just too creepy.
Is it?
I mean,
they have
what,
like
they
these,
hear children screaming.
no,
like,
no,
"Oh, me,
no,
Prince
but
Andrew."
like I don't know. Is it really so different than like these like documentaries they make? Like, why not go?
All these tours of,
Yeah.
these.
I guess I don't know. That's
Like,
just
isn't there a
seems-
tour in L.A. where you can tour like where everybody died?
Yeah, or it's Alcatraz or like something like
The problem
that.
is that this island is difficult to access, I guess.
Yeah, but I mean, so's the fucking Titanic. That didn't seem to
Yes,
happen
and
anymore.
nobody goes there except for a very few people,
Right, right.
ill-advisedly. Jaye McBride, what projects have you coming up, if any?
Not much. Nothing really.
okay.
Hopefully, I'll be on a tour.
Well, other than getting the
this
fuck out
winter.
of stand-up and maybe getting into becoming an actuary, what if you had to stay in stand-up, what are you looking to?
Well, no, I do. I'm not gonna like stand up will always be there, and I'll always do it. But I would love it if I could do things like I actually wrote about 80 pages of a graphic novel. I started doing a comic strip last year, which was kind of fun. I would love to do either of those things, but I would also like to get back into acting a little more when the writer's strike is over. But we'll see. We'll see.
Oh,
what
you
happens.
brought up my book before the show.
Yes, yes.
Which there's no news generally. I wrote a book,
Which is a big deal.
before and during the pandemic. But I did get an email from somebody. I guess I sent out all these emails when I was trying to get a publisher. I ended up self-publishing. But when I was trying to get a publisher, I sent out a bunch of emails to like potential or to agents.
Uh-huh.
But first, you
Yeah.
got to get an agent. Generally, I guess maybe if you had a real good connection at a publishing,
You
house,
need an agent.
But generally, you
first.
need an agent.
Yeah.
So I just got an email back today. Hey, literally like two years later.
Yeah.
Saying, oh, hey, we'd like to take a look. Sorry, we got swamped and.
Great.
But it's like 2 years ago. But I'm not going to mention the name. But did you turn me on to these people? Is this a name that looks familiar to you? I don't know who. I think it was Nareed Capel that.
No, this isn't me.
I think it was Nareed Koppel that steered me in that direction.
That's great.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I the fact that I self-published it, I think, is going to be an issue for anybody that.
Wrong. 50 Shades of Grey was
Okay,
self-published.
well, maybe
Right.
I'm wrong. Anyway, look,
He's so negative.
well, I'm not. You call it
It's part of the
negativity. I
Naturman method.
call it.
It's part of the Naturman method. Is amazing.
Well, in everything I do, there's a bit of negativity. But it is, you call it negativity. I call it realism.
No, but it's like it's
Which
a
is
new.
very
It's
hard
a
to get a
completely
novel
neutral-
published.
Okay, but you already published one, and it's
No,
fucking
I didn't publish it. I self-published it.
right.
Right.
You. That's
It's
what I.
hard to get like somebody to pay you money to.
It's
to
also
publish it.
hard to get on the Tonight Show.
And you know what? You'd be
I'm-
surprised.
Oh, for the love of God!
I'm just saying it's not so hard.
The book is beyond excellent.
Oh well, thank you.
Everybody who's read it.
I'm reading
has
a
said
book
that.
now.
Look, he can't even let me finish.
Oh, you made your
You're
point.
too nice.
One of the
It's almost like you have to do the opposite of a compliment sandwich. You have to say something negative,
Right.
and then a compliment, and then
and
something
The
negative.
book-
sneak in the compliment.
Right.
Jay, the book is about a stand-up comic.
Yes,
Named
yes.
Ira Spiro. Hence the title Ira Spiro Before COVID is the name of the book. But one agent told me, well, nobody cares about stand-up comics. I don't know if that's true or not, but I am reading a book that was a bestseller in France called The Possibility of an Island by Michel Houellebecq, who's a well-known...
Great.
Did you
great.
read that book?
Michel Houellebecq. I did not
Well,
read.
You didn't need to pronounce it that
Well,
way.
I actually pronounced it that way intentionally.
Is that the French pronunciation?
No, that's the pronunciation
Okay.
because Michel Houellebecq is French.
Oh,
Right, but
Ooh la
do you
la.
call it Paris or Paris?
It depends. No, I say Paris just because it would be pretentious.
Oh,
to
it would
say
be
Paris.
pretentious as a motherfucker.
you have to roll
But
the R.
the name is different. We've been through this before on this show with authors' names, haven't we?
It's almost like when remember a Hurricane Henri, and like and like so many people were like, I'm not saying.
Wait, did we have a
Henri.
we had a
And so
Hurricane
like
Henri?
Hurricane Henry. I don't pronounce it. Like Fox News would never say Henri because that would make them gay apparently if they said it. So they're like Hurricane Henry. I don't say Henri.
Well, I'll say Henri, but I won't put too much effort into getting the accent right.
Right.
Why?
One could say Henri without a French accent.
Right.
You're
Henri.
perfectly within your rights. To do
Why
so.
is it pretentious to pronounce something the proper
well
way
if-
in the
if
language?
it's not natural, then just say Michel Houellebecq.
Michel Houellebecq.
Quebec.
If it doesn't come
Michel
naturally to
Quebec,
you,
yeah.
then you don't need to do it.
Uh,
Anyway, what about you? Said you've read
He's
it.
Elle écrit belle.
fantastic.
Well,
Say it again.
Elle écrit un bel lire. Je livre Michel Houellebecq
no. Mm-mm. I mean, the word livre is
To-
book.
to
J'ai lu.
to lire.
No, j'ai lu.
To lire.
J'ai lu.
J'ai
I
lu.
read as I lu. J'ai
To
lu.
li- Isn't it lire?
Lire is
J'ai
the
lu.
infinitive form. Yeah.
J'ai lu un livre
Right?
Oui.
De Michel.
Ah,
Houellebecq.
ah,
C'est très bien.
de Michel Houellebecq.
Yeah.
Oui, je
that
mange
right?
un croissant et je
That's so dumb.
Uh,
I've read a few books by him.
So
I
anyway,
mean, he's in large part.
so he's a huge
Yeah, he's huge.
author, and this book, which
He's very
I
fat.
didn't know, I just figured, all right, well, he's a popular author, and this book got a lot of acclaim. The main character is a stand-up comic, a French stand-up comic,
Et voilà.
and
Oh là là.
now that doesn't necessarily mean
C'est
that,
impossible.
now maybe the French for them it's more, I don't know, but anyway. So his character, he has like jokes and sketches that he kind of injects in his book, but he's not a
Yeah.
comic, so they're not funny.
Right?
I mean, the book is good. This plot is good. I'm enjoying it. But when he like tries to, do funny shit with the main character, it to me anyway, it doesn't work very well.
Listen.
Because he's not a real comic.
Nothing would give me more pleasure.
See what I did in my is that my main character does jokes that I've tested here at the Cellar, so I know they work.
Nice.
Have you read his book?
Not yet.
You
She-
have to.
Well, she doesn't have to. Number
No,
one.
I want to.
Okay, I
just
can
don't wanna
say you
buy it.
have. I can say you
Just don't
have
wanna pay
to.
money for it.
You could also read The Possibility of an Island by Michelle, and you
Yeah.
can try to read it in French, but
That's true.
it's probably a little complex.
Actually,
for
the
you.
book I got in French is a book by about Sergio Aragonés's cartoons from the.
Oh yeah, well that's
Yeah.
but that's your thing. You like
Yeah,
that. You
yeah,
like the graphic
yeah.
cartoons.
The graphic.
Drawn
arts.
drawn out dramas. Is that what they called them in Mad Magazine? He was a Mad Magazine guy, right?
Yeah, he would do all the
Spy versus
Mad Look
Spy
at-
or
no,
whatever,
No, that
no.
wasn't Spy, but he would do the things in the margins. Those little
Okay,
tiny things in
okay.
the margins. Really fascinating guy. And,
Al,
like,
didn't
I've
Al
heard-
Jaffe just
and
die?
I think so. I think recently.
he was at
but Sergio
100 100
Aragonés, like he came here, he couldn't speak a word of English, and just like he got
Well.
a job at Mad. He would. He was an interesting guy. I read it by
Al Jaffe was 102. He was a mad guy.
Yeah, he made it. He doesn't get any refunds
For the insurance.
for his life. He got a full service.
There is a 100-year-old.
Elementary Particles.
Yeah. Okay.
That was one of the books, and whatever.
I-
Those are two.
I read
very-
the Elementary Particles years ago, and
Those are both.
they said I'm in the middle of The Possibility of an Island.
Those are two.
There is a
Michelle
woman in my building.
Houellebecq.
There's a woman in my building that just turned 100 years old,
Oh wow.
but she doesn't leave the apartment, so I
Right,
don't
right.
think I've ever seen her. I mean, I've been in the building a while, so I might have seen
I
her.
gotta guess it smells like cats. Her
Well,
apartment. I don't know.
I don't know. I was in her apartment
Really?
because on
Why?
her 100th birthday there was a sign in the lobby. I got a joke. I got a joke. I mean, do porno movies even have that music in it?
No.
I know that's like the
We haven't had
stereotypical.
that since like the.
That's like the stereotypical porn music, but I've never heard it.
They don't. Do they even have music?
Yeah,
It's usually-
it's. I mean, in the old days when a porn movie was an actual movie,
There's
Yeah.
a story.
and there's
I
a
know.
story, and it was like at least an hour long. There was a sign in my lobby. I got a joke out of this whole thing that said, "Happy 100th birthday to," I forgot her name, in whatever apartment it was in. It said, "Feel free to stop by and say hi."
Wait, and give her COVID
And give her a
kill
card.
her? What kind of a when was this?
Like, I don't know.
No, it wasn't COVID.
6
It was
months
during the
ago
SARS
or something.
epidemic.
But anyway, so I got a car. I said, well, I don't think I've ever met this woman, but how many 100-year-olds do I encounter? So I bought a card. I don't think there were any 100-year-old cards at the, you go to like the Dwayne Reed to buy a birthday
God.
card, but there's no 100-year-old cards. There's like cards for 40, 50,
Right.
and all that.
And 10, and you just added a 0.
I could have done that.
Yeah.
But I think I just got like one of those like nice cards, like say, it doesn't say anything specific, and I wrote happy 100th birthday, whatever. Anyway, so I went up hoping to meet her, but she was in her room and her nurse was there, and I just gave the card to the nurse.
Okay.
Then I took off my shirt.
This is.
And then,
Right.
Right.
They said I'd like
And
to
then
buy your book. But
as
we
they
didn't
s-
have any money. How
as
could
they
we-
say,
is there something we could offer for
as
it?
they say in porno scripts, and then scene, or then I don't know, and then there's a word they use when they.
I came to fix their dishwasher, and they said they don't have any money. But
Periel, you had a query?
It's just the most insane thing to think that they would invite a bunch of strangers.
We're not
into
strangers.
a
We live in
hu-
the building. I mean, we're,
Yeah,
we're
you're
neighbors.
strangers.
We're neighbors, but we're strangers, but we're neighbors.
I mean, you could be serial killers, or I mean, it's just nuts. Would you let everybody in your building just like into and out of your apartment willy
If I were
nilly?
100, yes, I'd be like, that's it. I
Yeah.
can't take it anymore.
Yeah, if
One of
you-
you, I'd like, please grab a complimentary
Well,
pillow and
she-
bring it in.
She's not a healthy 100, I don't think, because again,
Even more reason. You're
I'd be like, hey,
Again-
can we practice you putting the pillow over my face?
in like the middle of like a pandemic, no
well,
less.
it was it was about a few months ago. It was after the worst. I mean, are we still in the pandemic? I think it's pretty.
It
over
depends
by
on
now,
who
yeah.
you ask. I don't know. Are we?
I think we're done with it. You know,
You don't even know
People
if
are
there was
wearing ma-
anybody in there.
the nurse was in. Oh, you mean I don't know if she was in there. Oh, she probably was. You know, but
Give her a sponge bath.
God.
well, the day
then
might
it's like-
come. The day might come where being 100 is not such a big deal.
Bob from like 14R was giving her a sponge bath. My friend's grandmother turned 103 today.
Oh, wow.
You know her, my friend Emily.
Is she coherent? Can she?
Yeah,
just speak?
Totally. She's rocking and rolling.
My,
Shout out, what's her name? We're going to send you a happy birthday. I'm going to tell you right
I
now.
had one grandmother lived to 93, but my parents both died young. One was 69, one was 44. So who knows? Yeah.
44?
Your father
Yeah,
was
my dad, the pilot.
44.
Yeah.
Oh, that's so young.
Yeah. He was flying JFK Jr. and then they disappeared.
I remember as a kid.
Aw.
Happy birthday to Grandma Lucille.
Aw, that's awesome.
Oh, yeah, well, we wish Grandma Lucille, me and all the people here at the
Right. Thank you for listening.
Live from the table wish a happy 103rd birthday to Grandma Lucille. Oh,
You know Emily.
Emily Keating. Wow, she looks.
She's amazing.
for 103.
Right.
She looks pretty.
Well, can we edit this in case she doesn't make it till next week?
Oh, God
good.
forbid.
I remember as a kid.
Too dark.
So fun.
I remember as a kid. I was like 15, I think, and our neighbor died in a car accident. He was 67, and I remember thinking, I said to my father, "Well, it's sad, but 67. I mean,
Yeah.
you can't ask for much better. I mean, it's not. He lived.
Yeah, you think that's not that
My
bad, but
father
now
looked
you're
at me with horror. He's like, my father who was in his 50s at the time, was like, what are you talking about? As a kid, you perceive
Yeah. Sure.
somebody in their 60s as having sufficiently lived.
Yes.
Yeah.
And, and if they died, it's not a tragedy.
But also,
Or-
you can't really differentiate. I remember being a kid and like
Not really,
I couldn't
like,
really
yeah,
tell
I
the
could-
difference
right, I never-
between
well,
20 and 40.
Yeah, like I never thought in terms of how old is
Yeah.
this adult. You're an
Correct.
adult.
That's right.
And there was 3 categories of people: kid, adult, and old.
Yeah.
I could make the distinction if somebody was elderly.
Yes.
And or if somebody was a kid like me. I mean, I guess like somebody that was an older teen, I guess like kind of made that distinction between like a 40-year-old and a teen and like a 20-year-old. I don't know if I saw that
I
big a
just see
difference.
pictures of like my mom when she was my age,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm like, oh my God, like I thought she was so much older. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like when I was
When
18, my mom was 48.
Yeah.
Like,
And you perceived her as an old woman.
well, I don't know an old woman, but certainly much, much older than I think that people who are in their, late 40s, early 50s are now, which is basically like
Yeah.
a lot of
100%.
people who I know.
Yeah, it's almost like the people who like J-Lo does not look like a 50-year-old. Like growing
Right,
up
what
when
you
I saw
thought a
when I thought it was 50.
50-year-old, right.
There was this who's that Wilford Brimley in
Yeah.
Cocoon?
He was 53 in Cocoon. Or
Yeah,
something
yeah.
like
There are
that.
people who are saying like the Wilford Brimley thing, like so he is like
He was always old.
like so and so is as old today as Wilford Brimley
Right.
was when filming Cocoon, and you're always like,
yeah, like
that's
Tom
insane.
Cruise was.
Right, right. And that was like
Tom
10
Cruise is
years ago.
older today than Wilford Brimley was in Cocoon.
by like 10 years.
Yeah, by a lot.
by a lot.
Brad Pitt is older,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
we don't see these people as elderly. I mean, they may
No,
not be. They
no.
may not be at the peak of their sexiness,
right.
which I think for a man peaks in early 40s. I would say maybe mid 30s, early 40s, early 40s. I'm gonna say.
You think a man peaked?
And in terms of his sexiness,
I think a man peaks around 19. And then it's all just like
well, in his endurance peaks perhaps.
right
at 19.
before they can drink. That's it. Once they start drinking,
It's all downhill.
it's all downhill.
But like a good-looking 40-year-old is attractive to everybody.
I think men do age better, actually, though. Like I think someone like Bruce Willis when he was 50 looked better than Bruce Willis in moonlighting. like a moonlighting.
Well,
out,
that
soft
may be a
face.
personal taste. Then.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know.
You like Bruce Willis?
No.
I always thought he was pretty hot.
I mean, he's all right. Yeah, I think I prefer the. I mean, not now because
Right.
But
oh, poor Bruce Willis. That's
I wasn't
so
even thinking that.
sad.
Wow.
That is
I
Weird-
think
weird that your
everything
mind
we
went there.
talk about
Okay, all
turns
right,
like
sicko.
so.
All right, weirdo.
It's
Wow.
a minefield out
All right,
there.
apparently, all right.
Poor Bruce.
No, but like some people, I think even like Brad Pitt was like or Leo DiCaprio. Like as a kid, he was like very a young, but now as like an adult, he's I think better looking.
I
more
tell you, I
handsome.
saw
never thought he
saw
was good-looking.
Like I didn't before, but now I think he's
a few
like,
weeks ago. I
okay,
saw
can see
Meet
that.
Joe Black, which is not a good movie in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
But my God, was Brad Pitt good looking? I mean, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, he was.
It's
he was
absolutely absurd how good looking he was in that movie.
Yeah, Legends of the Fall.
And
forget about it.
Legend in the Fall of the Fall.
He was like too like pretty for me. I'm sorry to say this because this is a very controversial figure, but at his peak, I think that like Johnny Depp before he turned into like
Yeah, now he's
an-
worse.
Yeah, now he
Now he-
looks.
No, same with
Insane.
Like yeah.
But like when he was like,
He looks like that cool aunt who will let you have a beer as long as you don't tell your mom. That's what
it's awful.
I guess we'll wrap this up.
Yeah.
Thank you, Jay. You need to go around the corner soon. And
Yeah, it's was it 7 now?
It's
Yeah,
six-
6:30, and
6:30.
everybody should
Oh,
watch
plenty of
her
time, plenty of
special, Daddy's Girl, on
Yes.
YouTube.
It's a very good title for a special.
Thank you.
Mine is not available yet, but we'll keep you posted on that. Thank you for listening, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.